break the chains and set us free. Riders on the prairie, wild and free, bows and arrows, cold 45's decree. No more tyranny, no more lies, under open skies we rise. Fight, fight, fight till we reclaim the night. Cowboys and Indians in the blazing light. Fight, fight, fight till the dawn is near. We'll never live in fear. On the blood moon, we all unite. Horses thunder in the night. No longer slaves to the empire's might. Strength in numbers, strength in rise. On the blood moon, we unite. Horses thunder in the night.
Welcome, you guys, to another episode of the Cowboys and Indians podcast. Today, we have a really special guest on who has recently exposed the genocide going on down in Nigeria, or actually brought it to light, if you will, and is bringing it to the mainstream view of things. Today, I don't have my normal host here, or co-host here, Steve. It's just me, the native patriot, but I got two replacement Cowboys for today. We have Mike Arnold and Glenn Baker. Of course, as you know, Glenn Baker is part of the Patriots Prayer Network, has his own show, Finish the Fight. And how you doing today, Glenn?
Brother, if I got any better, I'd be as good looking as Steve. If I turn my hat around, I think I can get it.
Oh, okay, there you go. And of course, we have Mike Arnold today. We have a lot to go through. He's got a very fascinating story, and I'm really excited. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing great. Thanks. Great to be here.
Well, if you guys can, please share this podcast. I know that it's a Friday night. We don't usually stream at this time too often on Fridays, but if you're here, please go ahead and share the stream and get it out. I believe that this is going to be a very, very important conversation as far as the persecution of Christians. Not just, we've had persecution of Christians here, not in the same way, obviously, as what's been going on in Nigeria, but there's been a slight, I guess you could say, there's been an overlooking of what the Muslims have been doing in this country, and you can see that with Zohran Mamdani in New York City.
Say that again real fast.
Oh, gosh. I'm trying, man. That name always gets me. Zohran Mamdani. He just got elected. He's the mayor-elect in New York there, and it sure seems like there's been a tendency for Muslims to kind of use the culture of whatever they're trying to infest before they really bring in their Islam to their area. So I would like to talk a little bit about that today too. But first, Mike, let's hear a little bit about your backstory, who you are, and why you've been so prominent as of late.
Wow, how long we got? I'm a country boy from the Texas Hill Country, a little town called Blanco that's west of Austin and north of San Antonio. I served as the mayor for 2 years until this past May. Just a town of 2,000 people. I have been going to Nigeria as a missionary since 2010. I sort of got tricked into going the first time. I've never set out to be a world traveler, but found myself there and fell in love with the place. A gentleman that ended up becoming my very dear mentor was a Nigerian fella, and traveled the country with him. He passed away in 2014, and I just kept going back. I've been to Nigeria now 16 times. In 2019, in the middle of their capital city, bright, shining, glass buildings, paved road, new modern city of 3.5 million people, stumbled into a camp for internally displaced people. They had been survivors of the Boko Haram massacres up in the north, and they were living in this hellhole. This horrific conditions, sewage ditch, hand-built shanties. And we're talking people that had educations. We're talking people that were peaceful and prosperous, and everyday people that were just brutally driven from their homes and lost everything. And they've been stuck in this, pardon the word, but it's a shithole on their own with no support. The government denies they exist. It's horrible. I've been stuck there. And I ran into this place and met these people, heard their stories. They speak perfect English. And it just grabbed my heart. And I promised I was going to tell their story. And it's taken me now 6 years. I've been back 7 times since then. I've been to the front line of genocide. I've been to the highest office in the land. And I've been in the ditches and in the shanties with the survivors for 6 years now, and with a video camera. So, yeah, I got some stories.
Man, you can't say that. That's xenophobic. You can't call it a shithole.
Well, it is. The sewage ditch with shanties, they call it that too. It's horrible.
Yeah. But people, we hear, we're so sheltered here in the U.S. that when those words don't go with reality and what those places can really be like, I think folks would be shocked to walk in those steps that you've taken.
Yeah, and what I came to find out is that so I have a friend who's a U.S. ambassador, pretty high ranking dude, really good friend, Christian man. And we got back from that trip. I told him what we had found there, and he said that's not possible. He said if they are what's called IDPs, internally displaced person, it's the same as a refugee, but it's in the same country. He said if they're IDPs, he said there's the money and the mandate at the global level to take care of them. He said, this can't exist. And I started showing him pictures, and he just went ballistic. Ends up there's millions of people like this that the Nigerian government just denies. It's like they don't exist, and they harass them. They'll bulldoze their shanties. It's terrible, really bad.
What folks in an IDP there? Primarily Christian? All walks of life. What did you see when you first got there?
Yeah, so there's not really a census because again, it's government denial. Even the UN denies they exist. It's chilling when you get to the details of it. This camp that I found is documented by the UN in 2015, and in 2020 they say it doesn't exist, and the people are still there.
So you saw that somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 years ago.
Yeah. So nationally. The best estimate is about 80% Christian and about 20% Muslim. And I'll explain how that works just so, because it's important. When these, and we'll get into all the details, when these terrorist groups, when they go into a village or when they have a roadblock and they pull over a bus, they take all the men and women out of there and they divide it, men and women, Muslim and Christian. They go and they kill all the Christian men. They go to the Muslims and say, join us or die. And here's what you have to understand. A lot of them say we're not going to join you, and they would rather die than be jihadis. Okay, and there's Muslim people like that.
Oh, say that again for the masses, because a lot of people think that just because you're Muslim, you're going to be jihadi. Say that one more time.
No, and so then the ones that say we'll join you, they make them pull down their pants to see if they're circumcised. If they are, they shoot them, and then do a Quran test. And then the women they sell into sex slavery. So it's about 80% Christian, about 20% Muslim. We have schools in some of these camps, and we have a school and a camp that's almost entirely Muslim.
Wow. How did you feel when you first saw that, Mike? What were your thoughts?
So I'll have to tell you how we got there. This was entirely a God thing. We were on a ministry tour, and up to that point, all my ministry work, we would visit an orphanage, we'd visit a school or a prison and do an outreach, but it was preaching mostly. And we had a tour of the country in 2019. I'd taken some other Americans with me. And our biggest event was we had 21 churches that had come together in Abuja, the capital, to host us for our speaking engagement. And it was a big deal. They had buses and they had food and they had posters. And my partner, my dear brother there, Pastor Jed, organized all this. And big deal, 21 churches. We get in the van, getting ready to go to this venue, and Jed comes out and he knocks on the car window, pulls me outside, said, "We can't go." And I said, "What do you mean we can't go?" Because he put his whole life into this. He said, "I've been in prayer, and the Spirit told me that you're in danger. I'm not supposed to take you." And he knew it, and he sacrificed everything and canceled that. And I said, "What are we supposed to do then?" And he said, "Let's go visit an IDP camp." I didn't know what it meant, and he had never been to one. We stopped and asked for directions, And we get in there, and it's just this nice highway, nice condominiums, and you pull down a little dirt track. It could be like in the middle of Austin, Texas, something like that. And you come upon this. No words can describe the living conditions, but I often say it's the ugliest place you'll ever be, and it's the most beautiful place you'll ever be, because the dignity of these people. These are good people, and the children come running up, and they're happy to see you. And you high five them all, and they're smiling and playing tag, and in the middle of all this hardship. And we go in there and meet the school teacher, Miss Hannatu. She's standing there in front of the shanty she built with her own 2 hands for her and her 3 daughters. And she tells us her story of how she had seen all these men hacked to death, and women were raped and bodies dumped in wells. And she and her 3 daughters and a bunch of others snuck out in the middle of the night. They were followed by Boko Haram. A nursing mother with a 2-month-old baby was shot and killed next to her. A child was killed by a poisonous snake. And they ended up, bouncing around and being mistreated wherever they went, ended up in this camp in Abuja, 500 miles away. Been stuck there ever since. No running water, no support whatsoever. No food support, no healthcare support, no sanitation. And she'd been there 5 years. And I asked her what she needed. What can we help with? And you know what she said? Help me teach these children. She didn't ask for water, or food, or money, or medicine. She said because the bad guys recruit from these kids. That's Boko Haram literally means Western education is forbidden. And statistics show about 60% of these kids without intervention will be recruited to become jihadis. But she sat down under a tree and started teaching these kids, and that's where we found her 5 years later. And now we have a school there. We have about 250, 300 kids full time there, and she's the head teacher. We have a full staff, and then we have another school and another camp. But yeah, how can you not respond? How can that not, when she has nothing and what she asks for is help teaching the kids? I mean, she deserves a Nobel Prize.
What you said there is grabs hold of me, because we're talking about first world problems. When I asked you what's it like, you said they have nothing. It's the most worst place you ever could imagine, but yet they're happy. We associate finances and comfort with happiness. It's not true, man. It's not real. The Word of God says that Jesus is the peace, and if we've got Him, we can have peace in the worst situation. Maurice and you both know a little bit about my story. And there was a time when I was incarcerated for 73 days, but I had nothing, but I had peace. And so that's why that kind of hit me right there. Where did these folks come from? Just displaced, indigent? Yeah. What was it?
Okay, so these people in this particular camp were Miss Hannatu, that teacher, and this New Kuchingoro is the name of the camp. Almost all of them are from a region in northern Nigeria. It's Borno State, the county of Gwoza, and she's from the community of Ngoshe. It's in the far northeast Nigeria, farming community, and it's on the foothills of the mountains that separate Nigeria from Cameroon. And they had a peaceful, idyllic life in this community. There were 6 churches and I think 13 mosques and this community. And in late 2014, early 2015, you can Google the Gwoza massacre. The jihadis started coming in. And first, it was actually Libyan foreigners that they had recruited all these jihadis in. Came in and started killing men in the marketplace. Then they started burning the churches and killing men pretty indiscriminately. The Miss Hannatu's church was the last one standing, and the men of the community got around it with bows and arrows to defend it from these AK-47 carrying jihadis. They're there to defend the last church, and finally the military comes driving in, and they start to celebrate. And the military drives up to them and starts shooting the Christians with the bows and arrows. And they found out that they'd been told that the Christians were the bad guys. And when the military unit found out about it, they threw down their guns and went AWOL. And I've gotten 5 or 6 different eyewitness testimonials about this. So yeah, that's the experience. They started killing, and she described stringing them up and gutting them like goats. We've got, I mean, even recently got videos of some of our people up there getting their heads cut off with axes in front of a cheering crowd for a recruitment video. That's still going on today there.
Man, ladies and gentlemen that's listening to this, understand something. The propaganda that we deal with here in the United States will not let you hear the truth. And this is really happening around the world.
Oh, yeah. And there's we don't even know how many of these displaced people. Anyway, she said the women and children were staying because they were just killing the men. But when they found out that the women were taking food to the surviving men in the mountains, they started killing, raping, and selling the women and children into sex slavery. And so that's when they decided to flee. And a horrific journey, amazing story of survival and resilience, to end up in this shithole. And the government denies they exist. The government tries to deny that, to grind them out of existence. They die from preventable illnesses all the time. Starvation, and the children disappear in the night. The police won't go there, and so the really bad folks will go set up shop in the back. You got drug dealers in the back of these camps. I mean, it's horrible. And I went there in November of last year, and 3 days before, the government had bulldozed Miss Hanatu's home that she built with her own two hands, raised her daughters in. And she moved 100 yards over. She was offered a job that would have taken her out of the camp. And she said, as long as there's children here that need a teacher, I'm going to be here with them. So she stayed in the camp.
So why are there how many camps have you? Is it this one camp?
Okay, so in Nigeria overall, they have some show camps up in the north where the folks can go and take pictures, and the stories you hear from them are just as bad in different ways. And the ones that I work with said they've been told in no uncertain terms if they go to one of those camps, they can't leave unless they convert to Islam. And so there's no census. We know they have an area around their capital. We have D.C., the District of Columbia. They have the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, so FCT. There are 6 camps that we know of in the FCT with more than 30,000 people living in them. Most of them are women and children. And that's just what we know of, but they're all over the country. And again, the government denies they exist because they're eyewitnesses to genocide. These are the testimonies that will pull down that whole regime, and that's why they try to kill them all, just smother them.
What about that regime? So I don't know anything about Nigeria. I really don't. I'm one of these uneducated rednecks in some things. Some things I'm pretty smart, but the Nigeria part I don't know. Is this a religious-led government, so that is Islamic primarily, or is it a government that's allowing jihadists to control the people? What's the direction? What is this?
So there's an illusion of secularism to the government. And what you were talking about earlier about the Muslims lying, I think it's called taqiyya. It's where they're authorized and they're instructed. It's holy. It's for them to lie to get into positions of influence. And so
practicing taqiyya. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. Well, so let me take you just a little history of the nation of Nigeria so we can see how we got here. So Nigeria, I've over the years, I got fascinated, started reading a bunch of missionary biographies, and so many of them started in Nigeria. It was the jumping off point. It was also called the white man's grave. At one point in time, the average lifespan for a white missionary there was 2 weeks.
Ooh, wow.
The average lifespan was 2 weeks, but missionaries kept going. So, the faith that's there, and it's strong, it's powerful, was really paid for with blood. It's an amazing story. But Nigeria, first of all, it's a big nation. It's about the size of Texas. It's about 200 million people. It's the 6th most populous nation on earth. It's the largest black country on earth. It's one of the top 5 nations in OPEC. It's one of the top oil exporting nations on earth. It has about $700 billion in mineral deposits, gold, lithium, tin, and rare earth elements, which are a big deal, that kind of stuff. And it's an amazing place. When I first started going, my first week there, I felt sorry for them because of the things that we take for granted and that they lack. The electricity will turn off, or the air conditioner goes out, or you can't drink the running water, and the roads are crap, and all that stuff. And I felt sorry for them. But about a week into it, it flipped, and I started feeling sorry for us.
Yeah.
For all the things they take for granted that we lack, like family, like honor, like faith, like integrity, like work ethic. I mean, all the values that made America great, that we long for, that we don't see very often. It's very common there. And so in so many ways, I feel more at home there because they have that character of greatness. But it was never, by the way, they say, and I believe it, the most educated and wealthiest group in America is Nigerians that live here. And you're not going to find a more hospitable, vibrant, just friendly, faithful, genuine, sharp people than Nigerians. They're amazing. And the bad apples are really bad, of course, the scammers and all, but they're amazing people. It was never a colony. The British never colonized it. It was two extraction corporations. They were set up just for extraction.
Explain what you mean by that.
I mean, to loot the natural resources, to keep the people subdued and divided.
It's still pretty much that way, right?
Yeah, it was. So, a colony, they were actually trying to set up a mini Britain, like the United States was a colony. When they didn't give a crap about the people, they just said, okay, we're just here to take.
Just going in and exploit everything.
Yeah. And so there were two major regions. The north is where the Sharia law is. There's a tribe that had come out of the Sahara about 1,000 years ago called the Fulani. They're nomadic and they're overlords. They're warlords. And they brought the radical jihad with them. And they set up shop in northern Nigeria. The south is where it was more English-speaking, Christian, very entrepreneurial, democratic, a little messy, but in a good way, vibrant. But the north was Sharia law. And in 1804, there was a guy that came along named Usman Dan Fodio. And sounds like a good redneck. Usman Dan Fodio.
Has he got a brother named Bubba?
Bubba Dan Fodio, yeah. He set up the Sokoto Caliphate. It was an empire, a kingdom, with the Sultan was the Pope and King. He was the law and he was the gospel. And at the time, it grew to be the largest pre-colonial empire in Africa. It was huge, and it was all done by jihad. It was all done by killing and displacing. That's how they built the sultanate, the caliphate of Sokoto. And that was 19 generations ago. The 19th generation Sultan of Sokoto still sits on the throne. Well, the British used indirect rule. They liked to co-opt the power structures. And the North provided that. You talk to one guy and he controlled the whole North. And so they partnered with the Sultan. That's their buddy. And when they left and created, hey, we're going to put these two corporations together that had nothing to do with each other, that are oil and water. We're going to put them together and call it Nigeria. And we're going to set up a structure where it's ruled by the North. And they got their independence. Well, the South, at this time when they had some freedom, it was the fastest growing economic region on earth for 10 years. This was the 1960s. And the South is where all the oil is. But the British don't like the unruly entrepreneurial people that are uppity and growing and prospering. And when the South tried to split off a few years after independence, the British backed the North. Now, the South spoke English, went to school in England, Christian faith. They ran the British bureaucracy. They saluted the British flag. And the British backed the North. And this was concurrent with our Vietnam War, so we didn't pay attention.
Right.
The British did a blockade of the South and starved to death more than 2 million people. This is, no one debates, it's not a conspiracy theory. They called it a tactic. And they starved to death more than 2 million people, mostly women and children, so that the North could take control. And that's what the government still stands today. It's this great free democracy where if you speak up too much, they'll just kill you. That's what it is. The North controls the government. It controls.
Mike, you're talking 19 generations is nearing 400 years.
Well, it was they must breed like rabbits because it was 1804.
Wow. Okay. He took
Yeah,
pretty
maybe
quickly
their
then.
lifespans are short.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Still.
there's always been jihad, and there's always been. But when I started going there in 2010, it was the only nation on earth where radical Islam was being pushed back.
Uh-huh.
And it was held in check. It was localized. It was homegrown. If there was an attack, it was big news.
Uh-huh.
Well, the current Sultan of Sokoto, before 2006, when he took his throne, he was a brigadier general for intel stationed in Pakistan and Afghanistan during the war.
Uh.
We don't know what he was doing, but we know that while he was there, when we captured Taliban and Al Qaeda forces, they often had Nigerian fighters with them.
See,
And he's brigadier general on intel dealing with all these networks. When he goes back to Nigeria to take his throne, all of a sudden the homegrown jihad starts doing IEDs and kidnappings and suicide bombings. They take all those tactics, and guess what? Now northern Nigeria is the headquarters for ISIS and Al Qaeda. According to Michael Langley, U.S. general, the head of AFRICOM, he testified before Congress just a few months ago. It's the epicenter of global terror is northern Nigeria. The Sultan is the Pope and King, the 108 million Muslims, and they sell out of the north black market. The government estimates about $9 to $10 billion a year in black market minerals to the Chinese, and at least 10% of that they say goes to fund this terror. So at least $900 million to $1 billion a year from black market sale of minerals to China that funds all of this.
How much do we pay Al Qaeda? I know that I don't think we've stopped those payments, but we pay them.
Oh, the Taliban, yeah.
when that started in what, 2010
Taliban.
or 2010, something like
We're still paying them weekly.
Yeah.
So the Nigerian government put on a show, and they'll go and get in a skirmish, and they'll arrest a bunch of these people that are jihadi terrorist vicious animals, and they'll run them through they'll put them in an air-conditioned apartment and run them through a little workshop and call them rehabilitated, and they put guns in their hands and put them in the military.
Wow.
Yeah, that happens. While the people that are lucky enough to survive are stuck in these hellholes. The people doing it, they get a slap on the wrist and they get a job.
It sounds a little like a place called DC.
Yeah, except for they're not still lining people up in DC and chopping their heads off for.
Well, that we know about. No, we're just lining them up and putting them in gulags and closing the doors and forgetting about them. Mike, you painted a pretty terrible picture, my friend. Is there anything else you'd like to expound on before we go into what just happened recently?
That's a story. And there's a lot of darkness there. And when you get into the blood minerals and you get into the fact that it's political realignment, when they wipe out a village, the next thing they do is strip mine it, and then they resettle these jihadis there and give them 4 brides that plucked from elsewhere, and they repopulate, and it becomes a voting bloc. So this is political realignment, which is calculated. This is mineral extraction, which is calculated. And the whole system, there's a machine, there's a jihad Holocaust machine that's been built there and functions there. But what really was the revelation for me, and that changed everything for me, in the heart of darkness. I mean, the heart of darkness. I was in Bokos, where the Christmas massacre had just happened. 130 Christians hacked to death on Christmas Eve. And I was in this community a couple months later, and stumbled in, just like the same way the Lord led us to that IDP camp, he led us to an orphanage in the city of Jos. And a husband and wife that working day people, low class Nigerians that just hustle to survive. And this was back in 2014, 2015. The husband was in town, and there was a truck full of children that the police had pulled over. They thought the guy was taking him to the sex market. And he proved he was taking him to an orphanage.
Uh-huh.
It's in one country over. And Sam, this husband, said, well, if you have some, my wife and I will take some. A few months later, they had adopted 286 children who all saw their parents hacked to death.
Oh, my God.
Brothers and sisters taken into sex slavery. Their stories you can't comprehend. And Marilyn and Sam have raised them as their own, know them all by name. And here's where it was like I was standing on holy ground. She said, these children showed up wanting to get guns and go back and kill. She said now they're getting an education, they want to go back and rebuild. And she said, oh, Johnny is in law school now, and Sam is in medical school, and Sarah is studying to be an artist. And these 286 kids, it changed the trajectory of the world. I mean, these kids were going to go be radical jihadis, and now they're going to be pillars of their community and rebuilding. And it's the light that really stunned me. These brilliant people that are like Miss Hannatu, that are giving everything there sacrificially because it's all they can do to rescue these children from the cycle of death. And it just changed my whole life. I realized there's no such thing as darkness. It's just the absence of light. And that if we just magnify the light and let the light shine, that changes things. Yeah. So in the heart of darkness, I found the light, and it changed my life.
There are some deep, deep things to talk about right there, and I don't want to go too deep because I don't want us to run too long for you, Maurice. Love is faithful, love is kind. Does not envy, does not boast, is not proud, keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight with evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always promotes, always perseveres. Love never fails. The only thing that can change the direction of a child like that's all they've seen is death, destruction, hate, stuff that we can't even imagine, is what you call the light. I think I'm going to add the word love on it.
That's it. That's all. Yeah, it's 100% what it is. Well, the light is truth and love, and those two things together, really, the way I see it. But yeah, it's love. And here's where this gets really mission critical here. These global jihadis have co-opted the Nigerian Caliphate jihad. Their goal is to take over all of Nigeria. Think of ISIS. Remember when they started to take over banks and we were concerned now they got $1 million, that what they're going to do? There's $1 trillion in mineral resources. There's 40 billion a year just in petroleum in Nigeria. And they want to control it. They want that to be the global caliphate base. And these displaced people, these children, according to Open Doors, which is a big group, they estimate that by 2030, just 5 years from now, more than 2 million of these kids will be radicalized if we don't intervene. Now imagine 2 million, that right now there's only a fraction of that are involved in the jihad. Imagine 2 million jihadis with $1 trillion in minerals and ports and all the technology of a government. That is Armageddon. I mean, that is the apocalypse right there if we don't intervene right now in Nigeria.
So is that what you're advocating for now? Is for, I mean, are you advocating for U.S. troops on the ground, or like, what do you know? What kind of action you're trying? Are we trying to leverage something against them, or are you just bringing this to light? Like, I just want to kind of get your goal
here.
Great
here. Question. What do we do about it? So, for one, I do believe the Nigerian people have a collective vision and heart and capability of being really being a premier nation on earth. I mean, they've got the youth. The average age is 18. They have honor. They value education so much. Really bright, sharp professional people with amazing resources. It's just that they've got this globalist stranglehold on them. And if that's broken, I think they can rise on their own right. We don't need to get into nation building. But I'm actually going to Washington. I'm being introduced at the highest levels. We'll get into why that is. It's a story in its own right. But I'm advocating for 4 points. And I don't believe sanctions are going to work. I don't believe any of that, because we can shut down everything with them and they'll just pivot to China or pivot to Russia. They don't need us. They got the resources.
Well, and that's the one question that I want to ask before you go off into the to the rest of it here. Sure. Is, people may have heard the term blood diamonds, but it sounds to me like there's blood oil, there's blood minerals, there's a lot of blood in that country. Are we consumers here in the U.S. of what's taking place in Nigeria?
Well, the petroleum, I'm sure. Yeah, but that is so old and long standing. It's institutionalized rape. But the minerals in the north. So it was actually President Goodluck Jonathan. He was the last Christian president, the one that Obama in seeking to depose this guy, Obama unleashed all of this. I can
Uh-huh.
do that. I mean, literally unleashed it all. He caused this to happen to get this Christian guy out. But it was this Christian guy, good luck Jonathan, it was just last year in his living room in Abuja that he leaned in and said, it's the blood minerals. Look at the blood minerals.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but it's as far as we know, it's the Chinese buying them.
Okay.
And that's as far as we know, because it's no one's had the balls to really investigate it yet. I mean, because
Well, and this world is pushing towards a global economy, and that's something as a Christian I need to think about. Is if I'm buying it, am I supporting it?
Yep.
Yeah, and is there any way around that?
Yeah.
So that was my question. I appreciate you answering that.
Sure. So and the talk that that a lot of people in the Washington animals they all they know is bureaucracy and red tape, and they're talking sanctions, they're talking this and that. I think Trump sees beyond that. I hope he does. Here's what I would do. First, I would send a CODEL congressional delegation. I would lead it into these camps, into the mass graves. That's what flipped the script in Bosnia back in the day. And we need to get these people on record. We need to get them interviewed. The world needs to see what's happening. And I tell folks, to get your brain right here, imagine this is 1940 and a journalist just stumbled into Auschwitz and is coming, hey, look what I found. That's what this is. That's why dealing with the government won't work. That's why giving the government more money for guns. That's one of the proposals. It's like giving the Third Reich more money for guns to stop the Holocaust. It's not going to happen. So I'm telling you. So first, a CODEL. Second, designate indict this government, this president, this administration for genocide, not for the mass graves in the north, because that's going to take a lot of forensics to untangle, but their treatment of the displaced people today is grounds for charges and conviction of genocide in the International Criminal Court. There's precedent for that. So they're guilty today, and I have the evidence. I mean, it's out there. Indict this government for genocide. That's a lot better than sanctions. And then the Sokoto Caliphate, investigate them for possible designation as an international terror organization. Tomahawk missiles and Predator drones work a hell of a lot better than freezing someone's Swiss bank account. You know.
Man.
So I have a question about this, because I'm sure you're going to get these quite often as well. A lot of our intervention in the Middle East is what caused a lot of these jihadi terrorist groups around the world. And how do you think that there'd be any possibility of history kind of repeating itself, where we go in and intervene? I mean, with when war comes, people are greedy, and a lot of the times there will be and even convincing the public that this is a justified thing to do, or at least the MAGA side. Convincing them that this is a justified thing to do, when a lot of these, similar patterns are popping up again, where, where we went into the Middle East, create a lot of destruction, and then, ISIS will rise up, and then, the Taliban will come. How do we get around that point? Because it sure seems like there's going to, like, your selling points are in a lot of ways very similar to a lot of the reasons why we went into the Middle East, and people hate that we went to the Middle East. So how are you going to sell it to them?
Well, first of all, that was a Bush war.
Both of them.
Yeah,
I was there the first time. I saw it. Both of them.
That was a Halliburton war. And that's a slightly different animal when you have the former CIA director that, running a war. It's a little different than a Trump war. We haven't seen a Trump war. What we've seen from Trump is here's what I see as foreign policy being, hey, let's all chill, let's all get along, let's all trade, let's all be prosperous. And if you cross that, there's nowhere you can hide, and you won't see it coming. I mean, that's what needs to happen to these folks. And look what he did in Iran. I mean, Iran and Israel, almost full-scale war, and it was over the nuclear facility. And what did he do? He could have done a regime change. I mean, a few more bombs, we could have toppled that regime. He didn't. That wasn't what he was about. He just ended the war, just like that, right? He took it off the table. I think that a smart person that's brutal and decisive, with the technology we have, I think we can wipe them out. And I think we need to. I think we need to eradicate from this planet the ideology that it's okay to kill people for what they believe and what they think. That is the heart of it. Not just over there, the radical, the Muslims, but it's permeating now in the woke left. And it's the same ideology of genocide, that if somebody believes different than you, that it's a good thing that you go ahead and kill them. That needs to be purged from the face of the earth. And any means necessary.
That's another deep rabbit hole, my friend. That's another deep rabbit hole. You're talking really about spiritual warfare now when you're talking about it's good versus evil. And I don't know that we got nearly enough time to go into that, but
well, I mean, we can get deep on that. I mean, they introduced me as an apostle in Nigeria, and if you want to get deep on the spiritual side, we can get as deep as you want. The throne of Satan is in northern Nigeria today.
Oh yeah,
we it's somewhere, you know.
Well, Michael, along those lines, just recently. Now, I understand why now. I'm getting a little bit more of an understanding why. You're very knowledgeable. You've experienced, you've seen it with your own eyes, you've documented it. But very recently, your footprint in the, or your fingerprint in the internet world has changed. And it changed very suddenly and in a dramatic way. Can you talk about that?
Crazy story that only God can do. And I have to say, there's a lot of people, a lot of them better and smarter and better funded than me, that have been trying for many years to raise awareness of this issue, and that have been doing a lot of good works. God just, had me standing at that place at the time that the lightning struck. So I never thought in my life that I would say the words, "Thank God for Bill Maher." But thank God for Bill Maher. It was about 6 weeks ago that he started talking about this. And, all the Christian groups and all the human rights groups could talk about it all day long. So it's right-wing Christian people. But when a left-wing atheist starts talking about it, all of a sudden people take it seriously. And Ted Cruz filed his bill for country of particular concern. And now all these voices that have been saying this have a little more of a platform. Well, at the same time, the Nigerian government is going crazy. They don't want these sanctions. That the existing president Tinubu, his platform is the economy. So he built this, and it's still a shit economy. But that's his campaign, and sanctions are going to hurt his economy. So they have gone all in to not get that designation. And a year and a half ago, I connected with a fella. I had read his book. He was a presidential aide, went on to be an international political consultant. And I read his book and I had some questions. I reached out to him on WhatsApp. His name is Reno Omokri. Ends up he was the influencer of the year in 2023 in Africa, according to Business Insider. A significant fella, international vice president of Joe Trippi and Associates. I reached out to him online because I had some questions, and we chatted on WhatsApp, and he invited me to his birthday safari in Kenya and flew me there, all expenses paid, with some of the elite of Nigeria. And they all became my buddies. I mean, it was crazy. We're on this safari with this guy. And I invite him to come to my hometown of Blanco, and he does. And I connect with him to talk about the genocide. He was a leading person out there raising awareness of the Nigerian Christian genocide. He was for years. And that was our point of connection. People warn me, and I start to notice he's inflating my credentials and my resume over there. He calls me this great influential mayor of Texas, and I get quotes in newspapers, and he's introduced me to the cream of the crop over there, and he's cultivating me as a PR asset. Never crossed any lines. He never got to the payback side until the other day. So Bill Maher starts talking about this. The government over there is worried. He's a representative of the president. He's the PR guy. He starts coming out and calling it a hoax. This is the guy that was all about raising awareness of the Christian genocide. His new boss doesn't like it, and he just starts calling it a hoax. A soulless person. I mean, horrible. So it would have been probably the 6th of October, just last month. I messaged this guy a rebuke. And he immediately calls me, and God befuddled this man's mind. He's a major PR guy, made the biggest PR blunder possibly in history, at least certainly the history of Africa. The next morning, Sunday morning, the 7th of October, 5th, 5th of October, he calls me during Bible study. It's him and the National Security Advisor of Nigeria, second most powerful man in Nigeria. They say he's the most dangerous man in Africa. These two guys are on the phone, and I'm at the buggy barn eating biscuits and gravy for Bible study. and they say, Mike, will you come help us, please? I want to set up a meeting with the president, set up a meeting with the Sultan, and you find out, and you can tell the world the truth. There's no genocide. And I said, put it in writing what you're asking me to do. And the response was, just come tell the truth. I said, okay. So I was on a plane a week later on the 12th of October, just a month ago. I was flying, they flew me business class to Nigeria for a stooge tour. It was in North Korea. Here's, look at all these happy people, 1 block away, they're getting strangled, but, everything's kosher, And I'm traveling 30 hours and get on the ground. They pick me up at the airport, and the driver on the way to the hotel starts reciting these talking points. Get to the hotel, not a bathroom break, not a cup of water, goes straight into a meeting room. And there's this guy sitting there all smiley and bling. And they say he's the chairman of the Christian Association in Nigeria. Well, he's not. He is just a chairman of some faction. But they present him as the head. And he sits there and talks straight to the camera, all these talking points, and stands up for a photo op with me and leaves. And then they lead in 3 imams from the north. The guy sitting next to me, I recognized, a former minister of communications. He had publicly said very enthusiastically on the record, of course we all celebrate whenever unbelievers are being killed. Northern imam, and he's sitting next to me, reciting these talking points, telling me, oh, it's not about religion, it's just criminality. And then these 3 imams with all the same background, we stand up for a photo op. Well, one of my advisors had said, don't get any compromising photo. So we stood up all smiled, and I was doing this in the camera. So they couldn't take my picture. And then they leave, and they lead me down to the studio. It's in the same hotel. It's the countdown's going for the live prime time interview show, the top rated in the country that every Nigerian around the world, I think, watches. And the countdown's going. And this PR guy gets in an altercation with the host because he has to sit right next to me, which is against the rules, but they let him do it. 3, 2, 1, bing. And we start talking. I haven't taken a bathroom break or gotten a drink of water. I've been traveling 30 hours, and they're trying to trip me up. And live TV, this guy's in the middle of talking says, and yeah, they've already concluded there's no Christian genocide, right, Mike? And I was able, God put the words in my lips. I said, well, it's a fact-finding tour, and we're just got here. Let me find some more facts. And this guy just melted. That was me pushing them all in, because the next day, 4:00 was the press conference that he was touting. I mean, again, they'd rolled out the red carpet. He had puffed me up. I'm this expert, and I'm coming to tell it like it is. And all the government's weight is behind what I'm going to say. And all the media is there to watch it. And it's the next day at 4:00. So I just had to get there in one piece and survive. And by the way, I knew, and a lot of experts told me that they would kill me for sure. I think the odds of me being killed were about 25-30%. I knew that going into it, updated my will and said goodbye to my children. But, some things are worth the risk, and if that's the way I was going to go, I considered a worthwhile endeavor. Yeah. So I had no fear. What can they do? Along the way, he kept dangling in front of me. Oh, you'll never fly coach class again. Oh, you'll never worry about money again. You have important friends now. You're in the right crowd. He kept telling me this. And get to the press conference the next day, 4:00. These same imams are in there. The assembled press pool is there. I have embedded some of our school staff that are live streaming. That's good life insurance these days. I'm a professional videographer. Yeah. And I had manipulated them, and God gave me the way to do it. And I was supposed to stay a full week. I don't think I would have lived if I stayed a week. Before it started, I had them switch my plane ticket so that right after the press conference, I got in the car to the airport and left. And they did that in advance, not knowing that was my escape. And I had a report prepared. I'd worked with an ambassador, a couple other real, high level guys, and prepared this indictment. And right when it was my turn to talk at the press conference, I mean, they must have shit their moo-moos. I mean, I pulled this out, and my staff distributed it to all the reporters. It dropped online and syndicated online, and I indicted them for genocide with a document that could be filed as a court brief. And walk out the door, get in the car, go to the airport, and fly out of the country. When I left Nigeria, I had 114 Twitter followers, and my first post got over 2 million hits and 12 retweets. It became the one thing everybody in Nigeria, they say it's like equivalent to the Charlie Kirk assassination in Nigeria. They call me the Tiananmen Square tank man of Nigeria. And I'm now the most famous American in Nigeria, perhaps in Nigerian history. Within 72 hours, that press conference had rippled, every podcaster, every newspaper, and all that. In 72 hours, over 3 billion global impressions. And the narrative flipped from 80% genocide denial globally to 70% genocide affirmation globally in 72 hours. And just a week or so later is when Trump made his announcement. And I'm just a country boy. What do I know? But every observer that I've talked to at the highest level says that what God used me to do there is directly what compelled Trump. Not me by name, but the fact that the narrative flipped is what compelled him to take action. So yeah.
How did you feel knowing that you're basically going to be I don't know, like that moment, right when you're about to expose the genocide itself? I mean, how did that feel? Did you have like a sense of righteousness where you feared nothing at that point? Because I mean, the consequences there, what you were doing, obviously could have warranted the death penalty, right? Basically.
There was a chance I could have been killed in that room. Yeah.
Yeah, and or on your way out and back. I mean, the escape plan was probably a good idea because I don't think they would have. I mean, I'm sure you've upped security now.
Yeah.
Where you're at.
Yeah, so the Sultan of Sokoto, the Hitler most likely of this Holocaust, the intelligent designer of this jihad machine, has name checked me in the media. So yeah, in fact, I've connected with crazy. It's crazy. I'm serious. I'm just a redneck like you guys, really. The day I got back, I got a phone call, woke me up and said, "You got to get on this Zoom call. These people want to meet you." And two of the people were Senator Sam Brownback and Dr. Alveda King. And Sam Brownback has become a bud, and he wants to take me up and introduce me. I'm told that I need to get ready. I'm about to be the flavor of the month in Washington. Whatever that means, I hope it doesn't have something to do with Hillary Clinton and John Podesta. But no, it's just crazy. Mr. Smith's getting ready to go to Washington, I guess. So.
Was there a sense of peace during that time? I'm a little more curious too.
Yeah. So here, let me. First, I was prepared to die, and that gave me great peace. I didn't want to, but
most people that haven't been soldiers don't understand that statement, though, Mike. You had a mission.
I didn't want the Kiki Camarena thing. I didn't want to be killed with blowtorches and drills. Seriously, I mean that was my fear. I didn't want that.
Yeah,
and that was probably on the table.
Yeah.
Probably hopefully a small. I don't want to think about it, but that's all I was concerned about. But here's the thing, and let me just be completely honest. Before we left, and I went there, my sidekick, my Samwise Gamgee, Jeff Gibbs, my field producer and right hand man, he got none of the credit. And he went through all the risk. He's an amazing human being. Jeff Gibbs, don't forget his name. He belongs in the history books. But before we left, we said this prayer. Before we got off the plane, we said this prayer. And when I was in the hotel room before the press conference, I said the prayer. I laid face down and I said, God, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. But you can have use of this bag of bones and you can go do it. And it was not me. It was Christ in me. If I had been there, I wouldn't have done it. I've learned, over time what it means to daily drown the old Adam and crucify your flesh, and that was the only way through it. If it had been me there, I would have messed it up, or I wouldn't have done it. I would have taken the bribe. I just gave myself to God to use me.
Brother, when we spoke on the phone earlier this week, I'm thinking, and I talked to a lot of people. I've had like eight shows this week, but you were not a soldier prior to this, correct?
No, not a military soldier. I've been in front lines of ministry for spiritual combat.
That's the reason. That's the reason that I ask it that way, because again, most people that have not been conditioned to walk into a situation like you walked into wouldn't know how to wouldn't be able to find the courage, first of all, but wouldn't know how to even compose themselves and move forward like that. It had to be God working through you, strengthening you, giving you peace. It's the only way.
100%. I'm proud to say that I'm Balaam's donkey in this regards.
Oh, that's where we had that. Yeah, because God uses this ass to talk through sometimes too.
I'll be God's jackass anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't take credit for it. And it's hard to even communicate, especially with a mixed audience or secular audience. With the Christians, I always start with a disclaimer. I'm going to use the word I, but it's not me. It wasn't me. I'm not that smart.
Wow. Maurice, what have you got? Because I'm going to ask, what's the next step?
Yeah, well, that's actually the question I was going. You have, I guess you're going to meet up with Washington D.C. and you said a little bit of what you wanted to advocate for, but maybe it'd be good to inform the people on what they can do to help or support you, or I know you have your following or your X page there, but you also have a website, and that way people can get the entire backstory and go in depth into this. But if you'd like to share that.
Yeah, so the number one thing after we discovered the camp, I made two promises. I said I will tell your story, and it's been a passionate pursuit of mine. I'm almost there. It's such a big story. I had to understand it. It's taken me to all these places. And the other thing is that I would help teach those children. And so we started a school. Now we have two. We have a third one under construction. We have 600 full-time students, and we give them love. We give them light, and they all have very similar testimonies. It's working. These kids are not going to be radicalized. These kids are going to have as much of a successful life as they possibly can. And it doesn't cost a whole lot. Right now, 600 kids, 15 full-time staff, it costs us about $3,000 a month. There's a lot more schools needed, a lot more kids that we're not reaching. And so you can see the website there, mikearnold.org. You can follow that through. We also have our ministry, letusriseafrica.org, but you can find it there. Africa Arise, and it's always a struggle to keep up. I'm not a wealthy man, and I'm not a good fundraiser, and a lot of that's just been out of our own pocket. And so we can grow, and we have a great system. We have great staff. We have a third school that's already has the foundation set. So if you want to help us rescue kids from the cycle of death, awesome. I'm also looking for, I need to tell these stories. So two things. I'm looking for opportunities to come speak. I play well in pulpits. I don't have to call it a shithole. I've delivered plenty of messages. So, and it's a message that every Christian needs to hear. And it's not just urgent and it calls action, but it's also inspiring and uplifting. And so let me come speak to your church or your Rotary Club. I've got an MBA. I speak well to boards and leadership programs and stuff as well. So that'll help me get the word out. And all these 6 years we've been going, what God told me day one is you're producing a documentary, and we've got the footage now in the can, database, categorized, logged in, and we can crank out a very high quality, a powerful documentary in about 60 days when we raise the completion funds for that. And that's going to be a bombshell.
Yeah. Mike, it's mikearnold.org. Is there a donation link on that webpage? How can we get funds to you?
Yeah, so let me go ahead. I'll adjust it here in a second. But letusriseafrica.org, Africa Rise. is the nonprofit page. You can find it through mikearnold.org.
So it's Let Us Rise Africa.
Let Us Rise Africa. Let Us Rise Africa.org.
Okay. Let's see if this redneck can type.
Yeah, that's
Thank
the
you.
nonprofit page, and there's a give link right there on top. And let us rise Africa. Yeah, perfect. You spelled it right.
Look at that. I graduated the third grade.
I'm not going to get into influencer competition or anything like that, but I am going to tip my hat to Laura Loomer. I was on her show last night, and I don't know if it's precedented. She's sending me $10,000 donation. She announced it on the air to go to these schools. And
wow.
You can either tip your hat or you can try to one-up her. I'll leave it up to you.
Let me spread this out a little bit where it's easier to see.
Yeah, hey, I don't know if I got 10 grand right back.
Never hurts to ask.
Let us rise Africa.org.
Let us rise Africa. Yeah, you got it. Let us rise Africa.org.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Guys, if you feel compelled, money goes a long way over there. Money goes a long way. So a $20 donation that may not do a lot here can really help over there.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you normally around $3,000 a month is your budget. Guys, there's several thousand people watching tonight. I'm going to guess on all platforms.
Right now.
Yeah.
And it all goes over there to the field. Let me tell you some of our staff. So there's a program, and it's awesome. I wish we did it here. It's called the National Youth Service Corps, where every college graduate in Nigeria has to spend a year in public service. And they don't get to pick where they go. And every year we put in for 4 or 5 of these. They call them corpers from the National Youth Service Corps. We get 4 or 5 corpers. These are recent college grads, and they're sharp. I mean, they're bright kids. And they have, marketing degree or pre-law or PR. And they get sent to our camp, and all of them, for the years we've been doing this, put in a petition to change it. They don't want to go. They don't want this assignment. And again, these kids have the world in front of them. And at the end of the year, about 60% say, "No, this is our calling. We're supposed to be here." And they give up their career and give up everything to stay there in the camps and teach these kids. I mean, these are amazing people. Heroes, role models, and these are the kids that are there, young people that are in there teaching these kids in the camp and dealing with their trauma and ministering to them. That's where the money goes. And they don't make a lot, and I wish I could pay them more, but that's just what it is.
Well, I want to reiterate something from the beginning in case the folks that are on here now watching. And you told me it was 280 some children had been adopted out of that camp. And
that was an orphanage in the north. It's
in the north, okay.
Yeah.
280 some children been adopted out of this shithole. Guys, y'all can't even imagine. I mean, going to the worst spot in the United States right now, and it's like Shangri-La compared to where they were. And these kids were adopted. They're all prospering. They're all getting educated. They're all wanting to go back and help, but that takes money. There's things that you're doing there for this camp that's been. There's people been slaughtered. I mean, when I say slaughtered, hung up from the trees and disemboweled. And the kids have seen this. There's kids and women and children in need. $20, $50, $100 goes a long way in Nigeria. It may not go very far down here at the corner Starbucks, but it goes a long way there. So let me throw it out there. And I'm going to step back now, Maurice, because this is actually, I'm not the cowboy on Cowboys and Indians. I'm just filling in. So this is your show, brother. I'll shut up now.
Hey, no, man. I love hearing you speak, and I'm glad that you came here today because this is a really interesting topic, especially from a Christian perspective from the United States, right? From the idea that, I wasn't raised Christian necessarily. I was raised spiritual, right? And I never really had I guess I don't really understand the persecution in any way that they face around the world. I see a lot of the demonic elements in our country and the attack on Christ and all of his believers, but it is less overt than it is than what's happening right now in Nigeria. And so I think that a lot of people, or a lot of Christians, it would be good for them to understand exactly what being a Christian means when you step outside of this of the safe bubble here that we've kind of created in the United States for the freedom of religion. Although there have been attacks, we're not facing that same kind of persecution. There's a lot more spiritual elements to it, but so I think your message is really good. I think that the way that you tell the story of what's going on is very important to Christianity. And I really want to thank you for coming on today, Mike. I hope you go far. I know you're
the opportunity.
Yeah, of course, and I hope you go far. I know that you're going to be touring around, so hopefully we can help get the word out, and go visit his website and see what you guys can do to help and study up on what's been going on there, because man, it sounds like they're having a rough go, to say the least.
And there's a battle right now for narratives. It's shocking. There's so many hands in the cookie jar over there that don't want this exposed. The British who engineered all this, the globalist Obama ilk who turned it loose, and of course all the Islamists that these nation states are donating to this stuff, and China who's looting the minerals. None of them want this to come to light, and they're all dumping money into PR and spin, and they're whores in the media, and trying to get people to think it's a hoax, or that it's not really happening, or that there's some politically motivated. And it's so important that people speak up, that people find the truth, and that people contact their representative, contact your senator, and say, look, we need to take Nigeria seriously. This is happening, and this can't happen. People need the leaders need to hear your voice, because they're making these decisions. And right now, I've been a fan of Tucker Carlson since the bow tie days. And he had a guy on the other day, and it breaks my heart. It's like finding out your dad is the BTK killer or something. Tucker Carlson gave a platform to this guy who was a criminal defense attorney for a guy called the Butcher of Kaduna, one of these jihad governors. This guy's the defense attorney. And Tucker had him on as a human rights expert, saying that there's no genocide there. And then Tucker said, oh, of course, we all know it's just a hoax to deflect attention from Ukraine. These people getting beheaded, these people in these camps, these kids that watch their parents get slaughtered, it's a hoax. That all is just so people won't pay attention to Ukraine. That's demonic.
Information warfare.
That's demonic.
It is, and it's information warfare. And as patriots and as people that I didn't know any better a few years ago, it's really, really difficult to know what the truth is. And that's why I brought you to Maurice and to Patriot Prayer Network, because I wanted to get as close to the truth as we possibly can. And I don't know how much closer we get than boots on the ground and filming the cameras.
I appreciate it, and it's what God's called me to do. Again, the light pierces the darkness, and it's amazing. What I did in Nigeria on the 14th really wasn't that big a deal. In the global scheme of things, it was semantics. No one denies the killing was happening. I just laid it down with the UN definition of genocide and said, yes, it's genocide. And that was explosive, because any truth that's long suppressed is explosive when it's released. Uh-huh. And that's why, if you want to spiritualize it, at the end of Revelation, it says they overcame him, the devil, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. And they love not life even unto death, right? The blood of the Lamb's been shed. It's the word of their testimony that brings down the throne of Satan. Truly, I mean, that's what it does. And there's no more strong testimony on this earth than these displaced Nigerians. Not just their eyewitness testimony, but the testimony of their faith and their strength through it all. So I that's why I want to get this documentary out so badly. It magnifies the light of these people in a way that's just gonna shock the world. How these people can have this strength in the midst of all this darkness. That's the revelation.
Mike, if you don't have the production I'll put together on that, we may be able to help there too.
I appreciate it. We're ready to finish. I just need the funds to get into the studio.
Okay.
Mike, thank you for coming on. Before we go, is there anything that you want to say as a note leaving to the people?
What Nigeria is today is as if a reporter in 1940 discovered Auschwitz and told the world. This is not just some foreign thing, not just some black people killing each other over there. This is the epicenter of global terrorism. The next 911 will come from there if we're not careful. And if we don't intervene, it poses a very dark century or more for the world. And that's not an exaggeration. The average age is 18, and with 60% being radicalized, which is the projection without intervention, ISIS, Al Qaeda will have $1 trillion in resources. They'll have millions of recruits, and if we don't finish this now, it'll prove the world doesn't care, and they will take over the world from there. Truly, if we're not careful, and we need to get on this. We need to go on it now, and whatever the cost, we need to pay it for our children and their children.
All right. Well, Mike, God bless you. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Of course. And let's see. You guys find I think it's Mike Arnold Truth. That's your handle on X.
Yes.
Mike Arnold Truth on X, and then of course MikeArnold.org and LetUsRiseAfrica.org as well. You'll be able to find him everywhere. But you guys, I'll be back on Monday. Of course, Steve will be back. Mike, thank you for coming on. Like I said, I wish you the best of luck. God bless. And of course, Glenn, I really appreciate you coming on as well. This was great. It's a good discussion, interesting discussion. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what comes out of this.
Brother, that's some powerful words spoken tonight. Somebody was cutting onions here in my house about a third of the time. You start taking away the rights and freedoms of children and helpless, man, that does something to my heart.
It certainly does. Yeah. And I mean, as a Christian, I know that we're not just supposed to look out for ourselves here, but around the entire world was affected when Jesus Christ came back, and will be affected the next time he comes back as well. So it is important to not just close your heart off just because. I mean, I love the America First idea. I'm all about helping our pulling the splinter out of your eye before you go on to the next. But I think it's actually really important to be open to this and to hearing these things. And
well, it's super important. We still, as rough as it is here in the United States right now, Maurice, we still live in a very sheltered world. There's parts of this world that are just so brutal. I think most people in the U.S. couldn't even fathom it. A lot of soldiers have seen it. We've been over there, but even not even to that point. I'm blown away with the atrocities that I know this man has been witness to, and the people that he's ministering to are witness to very often. It's maybe not on a daily, but it's very often. Folks, we need to pay attention to that, because just because it's not happening here now doesn't mean it can't come this way. And we got to stand up for our neighbor on this one.
Yeah. Well, we got Zorhan Mandami.
That's so easy for you to say.
Zorhan Mandami.
Yeah, he's Mandami.
Yeah. I believe that he's a communist that is using the useful idiots of New York in order to bring in Islam. And I think a lot of people actually sleep on Islam. There's a lot of people that are worried about globalism and communism, but Islam has been slept on. I mean, you can see in Dearborn, Michigan, and many other places. Commie. Yeah, exactly. But you guys, I'll be back on Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We got a new show coming out. So God bless you guys. God bless America. Glenn, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
Well, Glenn Baker Band is just about everywhere on X, Facebook, YouTube. FinishThisFight.us is where the movie is, and the Exoskeleton Foundation. And then right here on the Patriot Prayer Network on Rumble.
What time do you stream?
I stream Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, normally 3:30 Eastern Time. Don't have any shows lined up next week because I'm going to be hanging out with Stuart Rhodes. He's coming to Florida and hang out with me, so we might put some live stuff out.
Hey, how about that? You guys heard it. We'll see you next week. Take care. God bless.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
PTN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper.
I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV. Lots of cool people. Tune in. Keep it locked.
I'm a white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My Patriots the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. Just aim the stick and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack 'em. I don't give a damn, can't stand 'em. Gang full of randoms. Fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't awake. My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is America.